All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. All right, so let me see. Welcome everyone. I think we are live now. We are streaming this in my Facebook page and YouTube as well as Attorney Nick. We are going to talk about visa options for nurses today. I hope you can hear me guys clearly. My monitor, my secondary monitor here is lagging. Um, and I see a lot of people joining us today. Can you guys please use the comment section and tell us where you're coming from? We're going to start soon. Our topic for today would be about visa options for our nurses. If you are interested with going here to the United States, we are going to talk about visa options, immigrant, non-immigrant options. We're also going to talk about latest updates to the Nurse Visa Act, to the retrogression, to the special category for E1, which Attorney Nick will talk about later. All right. All right, Ellen is here. Thank you. We have about 70 viewers right now. So, guys, use the comment section throughout the show. We are going to answer your questions. All right. If you guys are not familiar, my name is Paul, and I am active in social media to advocate for nurses who are like me, immigrant nurses who used to dream of coming here to the US and now have successfully thrived and lived here. And this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to share this information to everybody. And I'm happy that we have one of my dear friends as our guest for tonight. Can you guys tell us where you're coming from and joining from today? We have a lot of viewers. All right, while we're still warming up, we're gonna bring our special speaker tonight shortly. He's warming up in the background. All right, Vanji is coming from Austria. So again, welcome everybody to the episode 2 of Starting Your Journey to USA live webinar series with Dr. Nurse Paul. And this is your episode number 2, which we are going to talk about visa option for nurses as you migrate to the US. So there are lots of visa options, but of course the nuances of each visa, what other or who else could explain that better other than our friend immigration lawyer attorney Nick Caraquel. So we'll bring him in shortly while we're still waiting for other viewers. And while on it, let me refresh my backup screen because it's giving me a little dizziness every time during sound check and audio check. At the beginning, everything's good. But once I start going live, everything acts up crazy. I don't know why tech stuff does that. It just does that, right? But I hope I'm clear. We have Vanji joining from Austria. What time is it in Austria right now? And who else is here? Bam is joining us from Australia. Ooh. Jill is joining us from Davao City. Jill, is this Angel Gabatino? Student from 2012? I think you're my student from 2012, 2013. I may be wrong. It's like 13 years ago. But I remember your name, Angel. All right. Maria's watching us from KSA, Saudi Arabia. Santos is joining us from Dallas, Texas. All right. 4 hours away. I'm in Houston, Texas, everybody. And Vanji is joining us from where again? Austria. It's 12 midnight there. Hi, Anna. Anna, you want to join us? I'm going to send you the StreamYard link. Yeah, I think Jel Gabatino is joining us from Facebook right now. Is my student. I believe so. She was my student. See? She calls me baby. Alrighty. And watching from the Bahamas. Wow, Nicholas. Thank you for joining from the Bahamas. How's the weather there? Tropical weather. All right. So I guess we have a lot of viewers. We have 92 viewers. Our speaker will be so happy right now. He's warming up in the back end. Well, actually, he didn't need any preparation. All right. Let me just how do I do this? Because in the vertical view, I'm not centered, but probably because I'm too close to the screen, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay. How do I do that? Uh anyway. So it don't look centered in the vertical view because we're streaming it vertical view in YouTube, and I guess it's the placement of the camera. So maybe if I move it here a little. All right, tell me guys where you're coming from so we can acknowledge you on the screen. All right. My wife is a nurse in Arizona with a J2 visa. Wow. I think J2 visa is a student visa, right? I'm not really particular with the numbers and letters. I have brief idea, but I'm not the expert. We'll bring in the expert soon. All right. Dr. Flores, thank you. He said, congratulations for another milestone, CEN. So I'm just warming up here, guys. We're gonna start in 2 minutes. And I'm adjusting my camera because I don't know why the virtual view is a little off to the side. All right, I guess that's it. Alrighty. Alrighty. And my screen here is giving me dizziness because it keeps freezing. All right. I hope I'm clear. Anyone else is here? Washington State, Daisel. Zoe is joining us from Philippines. Hi, Zoe. Who else is here? We have a lot of viewers, 100 viewers now. Okay. I think we're not gonna we're not gonna wait that long anymore. Okay, I'm gonna bring in our special guest again. Welcome everybody to episode 2 of Starting Your Journey to USA with Dr. Nurse Paul. And this live webinar series, I built this for nurses who are interested in migrating to the USA. I'm an immigrant myself. I've gone through this journey. I had to wait 9 years, nine plus years to get to the USA waiting for my immigrant visa. But I'm happy that I'm here. I've been here for I'm turning 9 years in my life in the US in a month. All right. I arrived here March 10, 2017. And it has been truly a blessing. But I don't want that blessing to stop with me. I want to pay it forward. And by doing this live webinar series, I hope that it can help future nurses to plan and, get some tips, all right, get some ideas of how you can migrate here to the US. And of course, US immigration process is one of the most complicated. That's why I brought to you guys one of my very special friend and a very popular immigration lawyer in New York City, right? So let's bring into the stage attorney Nick Caraquel.
Hello,
Everybody.
everybody. Hi, Doc. Thank you for inviting me. So before we're gonna start, though, I just want to give a shout out to RJ Regalado. She's from Kentucky, right? So hello, RJ. Well, thank you for inviting me again. We share the same advocacy of basically educating Filipinos of what's going on with U.S. immigration, in particular with the nursing profession. So I actually saw the J2, so maybe we will be asking, explaining, or answering questions related to that, because that could be another visa category that the nurses will be interested in.
Right, right. So many letters in the alphabet of immigration, but good thing Attorney Nick is here to dissect it for us. We're gonna have 1 hour of whole webinar that we'll talk about these visa options. So prepare your questions, and we're gonna try to answer that as much as we can. Thank you, everybody. We have more than 100 viewers at this time, Attorney, and we just started about 10 minutes ago. Thank you, everyone, for joining. All right. So, attorney, tell us about a little about your journey, how you came over here to the US, how you came over to your advocacy for immigrant nurses.
Oh yeah, so basically, initially I entered the United States on a tourist visa, right? And then that was years ago. And then I was lucky; I found a job as an industrial engineer. But I have to go out of the United States and obtain my multinational executive visa in Hong Kong, and then came back here as an engineer. And then when I actually finished I passed the New York bar. I stayed a little bit for 5 more years with Nestle USA. And then after that, I jumped into my solo practice in New York. And again, that was years ago. So then one of the professions that I assisted early on my journeys are basically the nurses and of course the family-based visas and then the teachers. So, but then again, each of us has a story to tell as far as our own US journey, and we are here to help you out, at least to smoothen out your journey, right? Because each has their own story to tell. But we'll be here to answer your questions, right? So just put in the comment section and we'll try to answer them. So thank
All
you,
right.
Doctor.
Thank you, attorney. Thank you for being with us today. And we have a lot of viewers. I know they're gonna learn a lot from this webinar series. Attorney, let's start with immigrant option for nurses, because I know, I have to wait 9 years for that immigrant visa. I'm just thankful that it's immigrant visa. When I came over here, green card on day one, that counts towards citizenship. So I was able to apply for citizenship in 5 years. I know some nurses have to go through different routes. We'll talk about that later. But what are the different immigrant options for nurses, and what are the pros and cons for these immigrant visas?
Okay, yeah, and thank you for that, Doc. Though. So as majority of the nurses are actually online now, we are very familiar with the EB. So if you are wondering what EB means, it's the employment base. So the EB2 and the EB3, right? So the EB3 basically are applicable for professionals, right? And that's where the EB3 RN category comes in. But of course, the EB3 is also being shared with any other professionals and other skilled and unskilled workers. That's why that actually causes the retrogression. So the retrogression is being created when the visa numbers available is not enough for the demand. So as based on the current visa bulletin, the EB3 now they are serving applications filed on or before June 1st, 2023. So ibig sabihin, if the employer now would want to hire new nurses, it could be about 2.5 years waiting for them. But then the good thing about the visa bulletin though is it can go slower, it can go faster because it changes every month. So you just have to wait for that. So then the other type of the EB is the EB2, but this is basically more offered more on people with advanced degrees, right? So if they are actually being hired as managers, nurse managers, so that's where the EB2 comes in, right? But interestingly, because of this backlog and long wait, we would want to talk about other visa options that come about that the nurses could pretty much take advantage of. Dahil naunahan na tayo dun sa J2, the J2 is basically the derivative of a J1 visa holder. Sa Philippines, nangyayari to, so let's say your spouse is a teacher and they came to the United States to teach, but then you are the nurse spouse, correct? So then, as part of a derivative, you can apply for a work permit. So with the work permit, and if you're a nurse, you'll be able to actually work as a nurse, right? So just a reminder, and for awareness purposes, if your spouses are interested to coming to the United States on a J1 visa. A J1 visa is not limited to teachers only. It's available to all professions. So kung ang asawa nyo can avail of the J1 visa, then you may be able to come to the United States and work as a nurse by applying through a work permit. So at least yun yung una nating madiscuss. The other interesting that visa option, because I actually was inspired to talk about this, I've been following through the posts ng Lefora, and there is such thing as the Daisy Awards or even the Outstanding Nurses in the Philippines, or any award that you will be receiving that of national level. Okay, you could basically attain or pwede kang kumuha ng O1 visa. So there are two types of O1 visa, the exceptional ability and the extraordinary ability. So again, both visa types requires that you have to have at least a nationally or internationally recognized award. And let's talk about the EB1 extraordinary ability first. So the extraordinary ability, you don't need an employer. So basically, you can petition on your own and obtain your green card on your own. So even if meron ka ng pending EB2, EB3 nurse, but we know that it will be taking 2 years and a half for you, then if you are eligible, you could come into the United States within 1 month and a half because you could premium process if you are eligible. So again, the primary eligibility doon is mayroon kang national or international awards being recognized as a nurse. So if you fall into that, then I would recommend that you reach out to immigration lawyers to help you or guide you understand fully what that visa means. The EB2 exceptional ability is merong ganun din ang nature nun. So kapatid lang siya ng EB except ng extraordinary ability. But it has a lower requirement. But then in the EB2, kailangan mo lang ng support ng employer. So if you already have an employer who has been waiting for you and wants you to come to the United States bukas na, and you qualify for the EB2, you might actually want to call them to say, hey, I have this other visa category, but I need your support. Right? So ibig sabihin lang nun is kailangan nilang pumirma sa forms, and of course to support that they will be employing you as soon as you enter the United States. Just like the EB1A extraordinary ability, the EB2 exceptional ability, pwede pa rin siyang ma-process within 1 month and a half through the premium process. So once ma-approve yun, then you could basically set up an interview at the embassy, then come to the United States. And this is assuming that you will be able to obtain your state licenses, right? And then so once you have that, you could basically start your nurse journey, even if you are still waiting for your EB2, EB3 immigrant visa. So because all the O1 categories are non-immigrant. I mean, the EB1 is an immigrant visa, right? But the EB2 exceptional is a non-immigrant visa. Okay, so any questions pertaining to that first before I jump into the nurse app?
Any questions so far? So while we're waiting for questions, attorney, um, you've talked about the EB2, EB3, O1, and J1. So the O1, that's something new to me. I've never heard of that before. But
Correct,
see,
yes.
that's why you're here, because we never knew
Uh,
about that. So if you are multi-awarded, international or nationally awarded, O1 visa may be an option for you. You can contact attorney Nick Caraquel. He has a big social media page as well to talk about that. So that's a good option. And then J1, is that immigrant attorney? That's
It
non-immigrant.
actually is an exchange visitor visa. You don't even call it as a non-immigrant visa, technically speaking, right? But
Mhm.
it is an exchange visitor visa. But then again, if your spouse is a J1 and you are the J2 derivative spouse, you could still
Mhm.
enter the United States and work as a nurse on a J2. So, ang ibig sabihin lang
Right.
nun, pagdating mo dito, apply ka ng work permit, then you can
Oh,
basically
so
work as a nurse.
right, right. And the difference with immigrant versus non-immigrant visas, basically, immigrant visas, you land here on day one, you're a green card holder, permanent resident, and that counts towards citizenship right away. So 5-year rule.
So it's the immigrant visa,
Immigrant
right?
visa,
But the
yes.
non-immigrant, basically, there are other extra steps that you need to do to
Right.
qualify for the immigrant visa. So for purposes lang of understanding, when we actually say immigrant visa, it's also equivalent to being a green card holder or
Yes.
permanent resident of the
Correct.
United States.
Mhm. So that's good. So the when I came over here, attorney, it was through EB3. So day one, I'm already considered an immigrant or permanent resident, which is good because it's. I mean, I waited 9 years outside the U.S., but when I got here, it starts counting for citizenship. I think a lot of us
Yes.
migrating to the U.S. wants citizenship for the benefits of it, right? But with
And
non-immigrant,
Jack, can we clarify lang
yes,
doon sa
yes,
kasi people get confused ano ba yung citizenship or ano ba yung immigrant visas, right? Especially for people who are still outside the United States, right?
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
basically, if you're waiting on your EB2 or EB3, so alam na natin ngayon yung EB employment base, yung 2 and 3, second preference or the third preference. So generally speaking, RNs fall into the EB3, so that's the third preference, unless you are being hired on a managerial position, that's when you go to the EB2. Okay? Pag pumasok ka on the EB2, EB3, immigrant ka na nun. Ibig sabihin, green card holder ka na nun.
Mm-hmm.
And automatically, the visa expiration ng card mo will be 10 years. But on the immigrant visa mo, after 5 years with your continuous presence in the United States, eligible ka na rin for US citizenship.
Citizenship. Yep.
Okay?
So that's what
So,
I did.
para lang mas maintindihan natin yung mga terminologies na pinaggagamit natin. Okay?
Right, right. And what about, because we touched about retrogression earlier, what about the quota? Why is there quota, and what does that limit means as far as applications? Like everybody gets approved, but they don't have visa.
Okay, very good. I may not have the accurate number on my head, right? But every year Congress only have a limited number of visas issued every year, and with that number they have to allocate it for every country, right? And among the countries that has a lot of applicants, kasama si Philippines doon. So if you're very familiar with the visa bulletin, nakikita natin doon per column yon, di ba? So mayroon kang visa category, and then all other chargeability countries. Explain ko yan in a bit. Then we have China, we have India, we have Mexico, we have the Philippines, right? So ito yung mga biggest countries who had most of the immigrants into the United States. So then yung all other countries, ibig sabihin lang nun, if you don't fall into any of these four, then itong first column na to ang titingnan mo. Why is it important for the Filipinos as well? Kasi kahit na kunwari lang, kahit nakapag-asawa ka ng from Europe, and then mas mabilis yung visa bulletin nila o yung date nila, priority date, then you could basically use your spouse, all other categories para mas makapasok ka pa rin earlier. You just have to invoke that or request USIS or the NBC to use your spouse or chargeability. So when we say chargeability, kahit saan ka pa nakatira, ang basihan pa rin kung saan ka pinanganak. So ibig sabihin, kung Pinoy ka, nagtrabaho ka sa Canada, then your chargeability would still be Philippines. Okay? So, to answer the question, dahil nga very limited yung number and then ina-allocate nila yun per country, so let's say lang, again, I apologize if I don't have the complete numbers with me. So let's say 100,000 lang per year for the Philippines, but there are 200,000 applicants, then yung the remaining 100,000, maghihintay yun for the next one. That's why there is retrogression. Okay? But there is a little bit, hindi to official statement from the government, but narinig na natin yung mga pause, right? There are 75 countries whose immigration processes has been paused. So it means na maraming mga visa numbers na hindi nagagamit. Congress, on its discretion, may actually decide to release that to the other countries na hindi nakapause yung immigration. So we're hoping that by October this year, with this pause in immigration, that there might be a jump on movement on the visa bulletin because Congress may release those unused visas.
All right. So that's a very solid explanation because the thing is, there's limit to visa
There's limits, yeah.
annually. And then aside from that limit, there's also per country limit, right? So each country is only allocated, I think, 7% of the total pool, which means you can't go beyond that. But because Philippines, China, India, Mexico, we all apply for immigrant visas, it piles up. So everybody has to wait. So basically, that's what's retrogression is about. But
Okay.
attorney, if
No?
they don't pass the act, they throw away the extra visas, right? We
Yeah,
waste them.
they throw away or they could actually release those visa and make it available for the other countries, right?
So they can
So before I
capture it.
can
Yeah.
forget, Doc, kasi ang
Yes.
topic natin ngayon is visa option for nurses, right? So nakita
Yes.
na natin na, oh, pwede pala J2, correct? Kung asawa mo J1. We
Right.
also
Right.
discussed na if I am married to foreigner na mas earlier yung visa bulletin, so you could actually request to use that allocation from your spouse. Okay? The third one that I would want to also discuss, aside from the O1 that we actually introduced earlier, pwede rin na pag kunwari Pinoy ka, but you are born in, let's say, Saudi Arabia, which will actually qualify or make them eligible for the diversity visa. So, ibig sabihin, may mga lottery. Di ba? So, lottery normally opens September, October. So, if you are born Filipino but born outside on foreign land, maraming countries kasi na eligible for the diversity visa, then inquire with immigration lawyer if you are eligible. So that will also give you a route to another visa na green card holder ka na, right? Without waiting for your EB2, EB3.
All right. Thank you for that. So that's another route, the diversity visa. I
Yes,
think it's a lottery, attorney, right?
right. The DV
Right.
lottery.
The DV lottery. But I mean, they blocked 75 countries, so that
Correct.
opens up the
Yeah,
DV
it's paused.
lottery paused.
Right. Oh,
So
so we just
paused
have to
for
distinguish between being banned and
uh
paused. So
got it.
banned, talagang hindi ka na makapasok nun, right?
Like it
But they're
cannot,
just
yeah.
pausing the processing of 75 countries. And fortunately, the Philippines is excluded from that.
Okay. So that means there's options for, I guess, Filipinos to and those countries that are not on the list to get in sooner. We have a question here.
Mm.
Um, did we touch H1B, attorney? We have a question about H1B.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'm on H1B. How fast this time to apply for extension for H1B if their premium process?
Yeah, if the H1B premium process normally can be approved within a month or 1 month and a half kung walang problema sa application,
All right.
right?
And
And you are
H1B. Yeah.
excluded from the 100,000 filing fee. So, ang recommendation lang natin doon sa mga H1B visa holder, and especially if you need to be renewed or extended, do not go out of the country, right? There are even proposals to totally remove the H1B visa. So to be on the safer side, kung kaya naman, wala namang emergency outside the US, just stay in the United States, because medyo hot seat ang H1B visa as of the moment. But to
Yes.
answer the question, premium processing, technically the government promises to make adjudication within 15 days, but that's
Mm.
basically calendar business days. So that's mga 3 weeks ang
Okay.
processing.
So if you're an H1B, it's a hotly contested and very controversial visa category right now.
Yeah.
If you're holding this type of visa, the attorney Nick's recommendation is do not leave the U.S. unless you have to and it's an emergency. And there's another question. What do you think? What is your, I think it's expectation for the March visa bulletin?
It's always been the topic, no, na, hey, how could you predict the next visa bulletin? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's really difficult to predict, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there might be insiders, bro. Sometimes the rumors are even true than the prediction. So sorry, but I cannot answer the question because it's really hard to predict the next visa bulletin.
Yeah, it's tricky the visa because all we gotta do is wait. Like trust me, I've been there 9 years. Well, I've been here for 9 years in the States, but that doesn't change the story that I have to wait for 9 years. Anna is here, and she
Hi,
also had
Anna.
to go through. Um, all we do is just wait patiently. Right now, as it stands, attorney, I think the EB3 category has um I'm looking at it right now and it's showing January 2023 for rest of the world and I'm sorry, June 1,
It's
2023
June.
for rest of the world and June 1, 2023 for Philippines as well. So that's
Yes.
still not bad. It's only 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
like you said, it might jump forward coming fiscal year October because it's October is the fiscal year of the government and usually they have fresh numbers of visa. So hopefully we can touch up the Nurse Visa Act later and how it can help nurses that will be benefiting from that type of visa. Um, there's another question about the recognition. The I think this is concerning O1 visa. What if it's provincial level? What if the award is
Uh,
provincial level? It has to be exceptional, right?
Very good. Very good question. I actually have a case na approved ng O1, but this is a Facebook blogger, correct? So the rule
Ooh,
says that
Facebook
it has to
blogger.
be it has to be a nationally or internationally recognized award. So
Mm-hmm.
during the consultation, she said that she has that award, but then during the actual casework, it turned out that regional awardee pala siya. Okay? But she won on the regional level and then before sila pumunta doon sa national level, right? But then we actually found jurisprudence. The Supreme Court said that if the regional award will automatically qualify you as a finalist on the national level, it still is considered extraordinary ability. So that's good news though. So even if hindi siya yung first prize, kahit second prize ka lang, or even on a finalist, kasi ikaw yung winner doon sa region level, then it could potentially qualify you for the O1.
So this is why it's important that you have to have a very, very good lawyer because attorney Nick found out about the Supreme Court case, right? So have a
Yes, yeah.
very good lawyer on your side, and that's really good a good one. Can I apply for that, attorney? I think I have a few awards. I'm just kidding.
Good.
Alrighty. Another question. Let me see. It's a little small here on my screen. How about others? They enter the US and after a few days they leave and go back after 2 to 3 months. when do they count it for the 5 year requirement? I can answer this too, but I'll let you answer, attorney. I think this is for
Ano
the
yun?
citizenship
How about
rule.
the others?
Like they came in here and then after a few days, I think this is their first time entering the US on immigrant visa. And then they leave, they come back 2 to 3 months. When does the 5 year requirement count?
Okay,
For
hindi ko lang naintindihan yung 5-year requirement for process of citizenship. I just need to clarify that.
I'm I'm thinking it might be for citizenship. So Sheila or Skylar, I'm sorry, please clarify the question, okay? But if it's for citizenship, well, as long as you're not out of the US for at least 6 months, because I did a lot of
Correct,
trips too.
yes.
They didn't have a problem with that. Like some of my trips are 3 weeks long, some of my trips are 4 weeks long to the Philippines. As long as it's not more than 6 months, it still counts, right, attorney?
Correct, yes. So
Yeah.
again, for as long as it's not 6 months or more, it should not disrupt the 5-year continuous physical residency requirement.
Right. And Skylar said yes, it's for citizenship. I think we've answered that already. And for John, the question is when your priority date is current in EB3, do you need to have an employer to have a visa to the US? I think the answer is yes, attorney, because it's
Yes,
called employment-based visa.
it's an employment-based visa.
Yes.
But let's ano na lang, unahan na natin yung question na yun. So, there might be scenarios though where you have a pending application, it could have been approved, but suddenly your original petitioner may no longer be interested to pursue, and then baka yun yung word of that question is coming from, right? Na, oy, wala na akong employer, but current na yung visa ko. So the good news is, if you found another employer, they could actually tawag dito, kunin yung priority date na yon, right? So recapture the priority date so you don't have to wait again and start from square one. So we can use of the priority date of the approved application and then find another employer. Then you don't have to wait anymore for a longer period of time.
All right. And in the immigrant nursing community in Lefora and my page, we call it abandoned attorney Nick, because literally the employer abandoned us. Um,
Yes.
and I'm team abandoned as well, by the way. So
Right. And don't
yes.
worry if your case has been abandoned though.
Mhm.
The remedy is to recapture the priority date, right?
Yes,
Just look for another employer who is willing
correct.
to continue that application.
So correct. Because of retrogression, some employers might have left you already and moved on to another candidate locally or from other countries.
Yes.
But don't worry about it. Talk to your recruiter or have a release. Talk to a lawyer. Get another employer that will recapture that visa, which means you don't have to go back to start. You just
Correct.
have the lawyer file their visa the correct way. I don't know the nuances in that, but they did that for me and my case was recaptured. And I mean, it helped because we don't have to wait again from the start. My priority date was 2009, so I'm also team abandoned, which means I was abandoned by my original employer. And that happens a lot. Yep. But just don't lie in the console, all right, attorney?
Yeah.
Don't, because some of them would be told by their recruiter. The recruiter is not the employer, their third party, and say, it's okay, just lie to the console and say you have a job here. And then they come over here, there's really no job. So we have a lot of nurses work in Walmart, work in, have to live with their families for 3 to 6 months without money, and
Yeah.
they're being coerced by their employer to report them to immigration services because they also lied in the console. What do you think about that, attorney? We cannot lie in the console. We're under oath, right?
Correct. So number one, though, you have to be aware that everything happening in the consulate is recorded. So
Mhm.
basically, what you say there is already in the records, right? And there are cases na makalusot, as we call it, but down the road, if the government finds out when you apply for your citizenship, it will go back to you. So again, be truthful in your application, right? Because down the road, it will be a problem for you. So just be honest there. Okay?
Correct.
But before
And
makalimutan ko, Doc, right,
yes.
gusto ko na i-shout out yung friends ko, si Myla at saka si Noriel, kasi baka hindi na ako palibre ng pagkain mamaya. But again, hi. But thank you for watching, though.
All right, thanks. And attorney Nick needs a dinner tonight, so please DoorDash for him.
Correct.
I'm just kidding.
Oo.
All right. But anyway, what is there's another question about petition. I'm sorry, I lost track. But the question was Where is that? Uh, Sorry, I'm gonna look for it. But let me see this. Do clinical bedside nurses qualify for EB1A, or is it extremely rare? I don't think it's rare. I
So
think it's
again,
just a
the to be eligible for the EB1A, right? Itong pinag-usapan ng extraordinary ability. First, you have to have that national or international award, right? So yung clinical bedside could be analyzed in the other requirement, right? But you have to have that award first before we can move further to the analysis of whether or not they will qualify for the EB1A or the EB2 exceptional ability. Okay.
yeah,
To answer the question, it's a lot easier to just consult with immigration lawyer to
correct.
specifically analyze your case.
Yeah. And I heard attorney, if I'm right, please correct me if I'm wrong, that employers do not shoulder the costs of this. It will be out of pocket for you. Um,
Correct, because it's
yeah.
an personal application.
Yes.
So yung sinasabi lang natin na EB2 exceptional ability, ang role lang ng employer doon is basically to support the application, meaning
Mm,
to sign the form and basically issue you the certificate of a job offer, right? But
job
the
offer. Yeah.
EB1A, you don't need a job offer because it's a self-petition. So
Yeah.
necessarily, you have to shoulder the cost of the application.
So which means you cannot make a mistake because if there's a mistake with the application and you get denied, there's no money back guarantee there. So it's
Correct.
important to hire an expert. So Attorney Nick is right about that. How about this, Attorney Nick? How do I petition my 25-year-old single son? I'm a permanent resident
PR, permanent
holder.
resident. Okay, so Giselle, Giselle, you could basically file your unmarried child being a green card holder anytime. So when you're ready, just call. If you're not sure, we could help you out. But you can file the application now.
Yep, I think
But they
it's
need
it.
to remain unmarried, right? Because
Yes.
hanggang maging citizen ka. Because if they marry while you're still a green card holder, then the application will automatically be abandoned or canceled.
Yep.
Hi, Pep. You like another friend of mine joined in. So thank
And
you.
the wait time, the retrogression for that category is I think 20 years. So not that long.
For no, it could
Oh,
be unmarried above 21, nasa about 8 to 10 years.
eight
So
to
at
10
least
years. Okay. So
correct.
just
It's
tell
a
them
lot
don't get
faster.
married.
Don't get married, else it will be
Yep.
15 years later.
Yep. Okay. Do we have any more questions here?
Actually, we have
Uh
a lot though.
yep. I wonder where I'm at right now. How about others enter the US after a few days they leave? I think we did that already. How
Mm-mm.
about H4?
So H4, I actually have that on my notes here. So I think the question is, makakakuha ba ng work permit yung H4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yung H1 mo spouse, if they already have an approved I-140, then you could basically apply for the work permit. But without the approved I-140, you still have to wait. And
Right.
mga H4 kasi, ito yung mga spouses ng H1 visa holders, right? Unfortunately, they cannot work because they
Oh,
cannot apply for a work permit. But once the H1 spouse already has the approved I-140, they could basically apply for the work permit immediately.
okay. So they have to have an I-140 first, which means an immigrant petition in
Yes.
place. All right.
Uh-huh.
Um, this has been going around in Lefora, our Facebook group. There are, I don't know if this is a scam, attorney, but they're offering our nurses F1 visa for STEM. As far as I know,
Uh,
nurses are still not considered STEM courses or
so
nursing.
F1
Yeah.
STEM, they are actually looking into the national interest waiver.
Mhm.
Again, that is an option that has to be discussed thoroughly with an immigration lawyer. Kasama din siya ng O1 categories, right? So these are considered complex applications. But doon sa F1 STEM, while they are actually maintaining status in the United States, and if they qualify, they could probably get their own green card through the national interest waiver because
Mhm.
the waiting period is shorter than the EB3, the EB3 route.
Okay. Or how about this, attorney? From F1 visa who's taking masters in nursing, what is the route to EB3?
So if you are if you are a nurse and you only have a pending petition, so then you are still trapped between with the visa bulletin availability, right? But if you're still taking MSN, so definitely you will not fall into the EB2, correct? So again, just continue with your MSN once you get a nurse, the masters, and you have an advanced degree higher position, then yun lang yung rota mo doon. But if the question is, can I use my MSN to fast track my EB3, medyo malabo. Correct? Kasi the
Right.
question kasi is, MSN ka, the route to the EB3. So I presume RN ka na nun?
I believe so. Yes, they're
Yes,
probably
so then
RN
go ahead.
already on F1 visa.
Correct. Yeah, so then just go directly to the EB3 RN.
Yep. Talk to your employer if they can sponsor your EB3,
Yes.
or
Uh-huh.
find an EB to qualified positions. And is there a I don't I'm not understanding this question, but are there cure or waivers for EB3 applicants that are out of status?
I actually
What?
wrote that down here. So let's talk about that and understand that a little bit, correct? Kasi
Mm-hmm.
there are remedies provided by law. So pag sinabi mo kasing out of status ka, so let's say you entered the United States on a tourist visa and you were given 6 months, right? So let's say you were given authorized stay until May 31. So wala kang in-apply na change of status o hindi ka nag-extend, at but nandito ka pa rin sa US ng June 1st, then you are already out of status. The question now, may remedy ba sa employment-based category kung out of status na ako? Well, the good news is, if you are out of status already, but yung out of status mo is less than 180 days, but there is an employer willing to file a petition for you on an immigrant visa, you could still get your green card, even if you are out of status for not more than 180 days.
Mm.
But pag more than 180 days na, yun yung medyo problematic, correct? Kasi the provision of the law doesn't cover you anymore. And then your green card application may be denied because you are already out of status kahit na 181 days.
Yep.
Masakit, correct? And
Right.
then, i-clarify lang natin dito, Doc, kasi some people has this misconception na if you are already out of status, let's say 181 days ka na nga na nawala na ng status, but then you get married to a green card holder na may pag-asa para daw. Unfortunately, you will still be denied if you get married to a green card holder because the green card holder spouse will not be able to cure the unlawful presence, right? But if you
Mm.
are married to a US citizen, then again, it doesn't matter kung ilang days yung unlawful presence mo, you could still get your green card absent other grounds of inadmissibility, right? But again, to answer the question of out of status, if your being out of status is not more than 180 days, yes, you could still obtain your green card through employment. More than 180 days, unfortunately, you can't.
Right. And again, seek the expertise of a lawyer. If you guys are in this situation that you are out of status, don't sit on it. I would
Mm-hmm.
say it's kind of like in medicine, right? You already know that you have a grave disease. You don't wait for it to blow up. You act right away as soon as you find out about it. It is always better to seek help early than be stressed about it, and then for all you know, you missed it by one day, and now your status is, I mean, you cannot apply for any other green card category because of that. And the immigration are probably, there's two agencies here that when I arrived in the US that I know I'm not gonna mess up with, attorney. It's the IRS and the USCIS, right? You don't want to be in
Yes,
trouble
agree.
with tax people and the immigration services, especially as an immigrant visa holder. It's not foolproof, right? They can still deport you as an immigrant visa holder, correct, attorney?
Yes.
It does it.
Oo.
Yeah. Yep.
Marami kasi mga agencies dito that are encouraging nurses
Mm-hmm.
on a student visa to get an ITIN, right? And then allow them to work, right? People, even the people in the USCIS are aware of what's going on. That's
Mm-hmm.
why careful kayo pag nag-apply kayo ng green card and you will be asked as to the question of whether you work without authorization.
Yes.
The sad reality, though, is there is now an agreement between IRS and USIS to share that information.
They see
And
everything.
it would be a very hard question to answer if you work without authorization and you are married to a green card holder or your application is based on employment. Because if your green card will be denied based on fraud, there is no
Yes.
waiver on that area.
Yes. So fraud is
Okay,
fraud. They take
fraud is
that
fraud,
seriously. And another
right?
thing for that is if they're not familiar what the ITIN is, that is the if you don't have SSN because you don't qualify, you're not a citizen, permanent resident, or had valid work visa, you can get ITIN, but be clean, your employer can report your income and they will find out that you are working. So again, two agencies you don't want to mess with as an immigrant: IRS, the tax people, and the USCIS. Never lie to the immigration services. And is there age limit for RN? I'll answer this, attorney. No.
Correct.
For as long
Yes.
as your bones are not cracking and your back is stable, you can work as an RN in the United States. And F2 status. There's a question here. Any other pathway for an F2 status? I don't even know what F2 is, attorney, to be eligible to work as a nurse while waiting for the visa to be current.
So F2 is the derivative of an F1. So unfortunately, an F2 cannot work because they cannot apply for a work permit. But kung sa tingin ko, kung kunwari ha, again, because this is basically live pertaining to the nurses. So if the F2 is also a nurse, right, then might as well find your own application. You are lawfully present, right? And if you have an employer willing to file a petition for you, then go ahead with that application. It doesn't affect your F2 status.
All right. And
Okay?
I think I have a few more questions. Perm,
Doc,
how long is yes.
sagutin ko lang yung kapatid nung question na yan, correct? Kasi
Correct,
may
correct.
na question din dito na, hey, is there a possibility that a student visa holder can apply for a work permit? Well, it
Mm-hmm.
depends. So, alam naman natin na majority of the mga nurses natin or other Filipinos are taking the F1 visa, student visa, na English as secondary language, correct? So, enrolling English as secondary language actually allows them to be present in the United States lawfully, right? So at least wala silang unlawful presence and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, and generally speaking, they cannot apply for a work permit being
Mm.
on ESL. But I actually have a case though during the pandemic, kahit nag-ESL sila, we were able to convince the government to give him the work permit kasi kahit na yung sponsor niya nawalan ng work because of the COVID. And luckily, he was given the work permit even on ESL, ESL English as secondary language. But for those degree F1 students, you could basically apply for a work permit after your first year. You can talk to your designated school officer and ask a recommendation that you will be applying for the work permit for as long as yung gagamitan mo na work permit is directly aligned with your line of yung program na naka-enroll ka. So most likely you're already an RN, you could potentially be an NCLEX passer, right? You're just waiting for your visa bulletin to be current, right? But you are applying for MSN, right? For nursing. After your first year, you could basically apply for a work permit and be able to work online with a nursing after your first year
Right, right.
through the
Okay,
work
so
permit.
a little
Mhm.
complicated, but yes, there are avenues. But seek a lawyer for that. The other thing, attorney, how many months to wait for perm? Perm is the first stage for I-140, but I think we don't need
Right.
perm, right?
But the
Schedule
nurses
A
kasi are exempt from the whole
for
perm process
perm.
kasi nga Schedule A kayo, right? Ang
Yes,
kailangan lang
Schedule A.
naman is the PWD. So then
Yes.
once that PWD is approved, and
Wage
again, the
determination, right?
I-140 can be premium process, right?
Yes.
But if your visa bulletin is not still current, you still cannot apply for the work permit. Sorry,
Yeah.
the green card application.
So, but some employers are saying they couldn't get PWD or they're still waiting for several months for PWD. I don't know if they're lying. Because Schedule A, nurses are Schedule A. We don't need the labor data, right? The labor
Okay, klaruhin natin
certification.
yan, Doc, right? So for new employers na first time pala nila mag-start hiring
Okay.
nurses, the first step that they are going to do is the prevailing wage determination. And
Yes.
that could take, depending 6 months, 9 months, or over 9 months, right? But that's the
Mm,
first step. Once they have the prevailing wage, and it will expire. So once they have that, they normally are given 3 months, 1 year validity
mm,
of the PWD. That's why important na meron na silang identified candidate even when they are still processing the PWD. So kung ang employer mo wala pang prevailing wage, they really cannot file an I-140 and there is no filing date or priority dates. Pero assuming meron na silang PWD, there is no such thing as wala pa kaming priority date kasi busy ang government. Walang ganon. Correct? But pag meron nang na-file na I-140, you will always have the priority date. The priority date is your filing date.
Yes.
Okay? And sa case namin, we normally share the information to the applicant as to the case numbers, right? So that they could
So they can
monitor
check.
the update of their case online.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we do before, but a lot of employers now are not even sharing the I-140 information. And
Mm.
transparency is key. Like a lot of our nurses, especially in Lefora, it's a big group of 242,000. It only takes one post that goes viral in the group about an agency that's doing it. You're gonna lose clients. So you gotta take care of our nurses, or the nurses are gonna take care of you. I'm just kidding. But the point is, um, be transparent for my recruiters and agencies that are watching this. Please be transparent to nurses. At least tell them what step of the process you're in, so they're not also very anxious about waiting, right? I cannot
Mm.
imagine how hard it is to, I mean, I was there, right? 9 years of waiting, so I exactly know how it feels. But for an agency to not be transparent, that actually hurts the nurses as well. This is a very good question about EB3. His petition for EB3. I'm gonna summarize it, attorney. And he wants to apply as an international medical graduate, or IMG. He's a doctor, physician, and because there's pathways for some states, um,
Yes.
could that affect his EB3?
No. And
Yes.
I again, the reason why we have this live though is to basically make the people aware, especially the nursing community, that there are visa options available for you, and if you will avail of them, it doesn't hurt your EB3. So what we are saying is that while you are still waiting for your priority date, then might as well explore other visa options, including the MD route, correct? Especially that the United States are now opening their I mean the MD route to foreign doctors, right? So if you are eligible to that, I would recommend to go and pursue that dream, right? O
Yes.
malay mo baka i-abandon mo na yung EB3 mo dahil naging doktor ka na, correct?
Right.
But
Right.
the one thing that you need to be aware of though is the damages that you may be incurring because you signed that employment offer or
Contract.
contract. So
Yep.
just be aware of that. So to answer the question, it doesn't generally affect your EB3, EB2 application, but be aware of the consequences um, doon sa
Of the
kontrata
contract.
mo.
And the bad thing there is, if you're already in the US, they can pursue you much quicker because you're in the US, right?
Correct.
So
So
just be
enforcement of
aware.
contracts.
Yes. So the contract goes two ways. We just want to remind the viewers, attorney, right, that yes, the
Yeah.
recruiters, employers have responsibility to you, but you also have responsibilities. We've seen nurses that are trying to get out of the contract in bad faith. I'm not saying, I mean, in bad faith, meaning they're willfully signed with an intent to leave the contract eventually and find every ways to do that. Just be careful about that, because if the immigration services again picks up on it, or whatever agency, especially in the political scenario right now, that's probably not a good route to do. But anyway, attorney, this one is a medical technologist, EB3 for nurses. Um, since
And
75 countries are currently post, what is the status of Dignity Act being passed in Congress?
So the Dignity Act is a proposal, right? I
Uh-huh.
don't know. I don't want to discuss the details of that because again, it is still a proposal.
Yes,
Kagaya ng Nurse Act, we haven't touched on the Nurse Act yet.
we will. Yeah.
But again, you heard about this. They are promising something, but as of the moment, the Dignity Act remains to be a proposal, right? So we are still on the EB3 conversation, right? Because any promise on the Dignity Act will not be offered to anybody as of the moment. The Dignity Act actually offers some potential benefits for even people who are unlawfully present, right? But unfortunately, there's no progress on that yet. Okay.
Right.
So siguro pause muna tayo, Doc. Can I just talk
Yes.
briefly about the Nurse Act? So the Nurse Act
Yes.
is an abbreviation of, hindi ko na lang sabihin, basta this is intended for the nursing community, correct? Because this is in recognition of the long waiting period because of the retrogression. Congress, this is the congressman from Virginia, proposes that the government or Congress offers additional 20,000 non-immigrant visas specifically for nurses, to be able to allow these foreign nurses to come in. But it is only for specified areas as defined by the, anong tawag dito? The Health Resource and Service Administration. So hindi siya yung tipong, oh, I want to work in New York and then I will avail of the Nurse Act benefits. So it will be regulated and it will only be offered to areas that are underserved by the
Mm.
nurses, right? So parang doctor din na they will prioritize those doctors who are willing to work in underserved areas. But just like the Dignity Act, the Nurse Act is a proposal. There's even no number as assigned to it yet. But if it will be passed into law, then it will basically benefit the nursing community because that's additional 20,000 non-immigrant visa. So parang H1 din siya, right? Kasi it's non-immigrant visa, but that will also give them offers or routes towards getting their green card eventually. But then again, with the retrogression, at least kung ma-approve to, they will be allowed to come immediately and then work in limited areas in the United States on a non-immigrant visa.
Right. What's the status of this legislation, attorney? Has it been
It's
first
still
read
it has been submitted, but there is
submitted?
no assigned number yet.
Okay, so we're still too early on it. I know there's a lot of um uh plans like this before. And with that attorney, you mentioned about HRSA. For those who are not familiar, HRSA is an administrative body that assigns scores. We call it I think health whatever. There's
Health
scores. The
resource
higher
and services admin, yeah.
Yes. So there's scores assigned per every facility, every clinic, and every town. And you can search that in HRSA, right? The higher the score, the less resources they have, or we call it critical areas, right? Critical areas for resources, which means if you go this route and this gets approved, you will more likely work in very rural American towns with
Yeah.
very few people and very few resources. We're talking about critical access hospitals that may not be ideal, like the Pit or Grey's Anatomy. Uh, very rural. So just be in that mindset. You're not going to work in New York, New York. You're not going to work in
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco, California. You're not going to work in Chicago or other big cities. You are going to work in remote towns. That's what HRSA is trying to say. And for a good reason, because there's actually shortage. That's also true
Correct. Yeah.
with the IMGs, doc. Right? For the IMGs, certain states allow them to practice, but only in primary care,
Mhm.
non-specialty setup. So if it's a specialty, they have to go residency.
Right, and that's good that you actually emphasize that though, because people get so excited. Let's just assume that this will pass, right? And people get excited only to be frustrated and disappointed upon arrival in the US because they are assigned in the middle of nowhere, right? So again, if this will pass and you are considering this as an option, then you have to understand this is not the New York, Chicago type of environment,
Right. Very
right?
rural towns, yes. So towns that really need healthcare workers. And I mean, you're still in America, you're still earning good money. So if you're willing to sacrifice for the first few months, for the first few years with your contract, you can
Mhm.
try it. At least, you start slow and then build up your confidence from there. But that's a good option for those who wants to come in, and again, the visa will be limited. Are there any more questions we haven't answered, attorney? I think
Actually,
we have a few.
there's a bit in your comment section,
Yep.
right?
Um,
There are questions coming my community, but of course, this I'm just a guest, so I don't want to answer questions. So, guys, those who are actually posting questions on my portal, I would rather prioritize the questions by Dr. Paul because I
I
was
can
just
see it.
I'm just
I can see it from I can see the comments on your portal too. I can flash it like
okay.
here. This is page she and says how many months to approve H for EAD.
H4 that can be premium process at least, right?
Mhm.
So you could also expedite that if you don't want to pay the premium process. But it's relatively fast though. Okay, just
Right.
to send a request for expedited approval of your work permit by reason of financial difficulty, or for whatever reason. Just give compelling reason, and sometimes they approve the expedited request.
Yeah. This is off topic. Do you handle accident and
No,
injury, attorney?
unfortunately, no. I
It's
could
a
not
different ball
accommodate in that.
game.
Sorry
Yep.
for that.
Yep. How about H4 with an approved I-140? Since retrogression, my wife applied for H-1B and now we're here in US. Will I be able to secure work permit?
So pakiulit ang question, Doc. Sorry, how about H4 with an approved I-140? So si
40?
H4
Yes.
ang may approved na I-140 o si H1?
Uh, I I think the wife is working. My wife applied for H-1B and now we're here in the US. And I think it's H4. Oh, I think we answered this already. The
Correct.
spouse is
So,
an H4. Can he
pero
work?
dapat, Doc, si H1B ang mayroong approved I-140 para makapag-apply
Uh,
ng work permit si H4.
Got it. Got it. So the
Right?
wife, which has the I-140, it's already on H-1B. He will qualify.
They qualify. Pero I think reading the question, it looks like the H4 has the I-140.
Yeah, I think we
Oo.
need clarity on that. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, the was this immigration nuances, so it has to be clear. Um, can an H4 visa holder
Who is a
who is a
nurse?
nurse take the NCLEX in the US? I don't see any reason why not.
Correct.
And apply for an H-1B visa independently. I don't think you can apply
Non-Philippine.
H-1B visa independently, attorney.
So independently, ibig sabihin independently from the H4.
Like
Again,
no,
you
this
want
is different question. Like uh oh, like they want to apply for. I think you have to have an employer, and H-1B is also
yeah. So there is
quota.
no self-petition for H1B. So it has to be
Yep,
sponsored by an employer.
yep. And there's another one. What waiver will they file if they sponsor EB3? All right. Uh, uh, ang asawa ko, ang company ng asawa ko. All right. The
Okay. So I'll answer this, Doc. So ang sinasabi niya,
they
if
are J2.
so the J2 who are subject to the 212E means that after the J1 program ends, maximum 5 years, they have to go home for 2 years before they can come back. But since
Mm-hmm.
the J2 is a nurse, what type of waiver daw ang pwede nilang i-file? Well, there's so many grounds to apply for the waiver, right? The common one is the exceptional hardship. But if you have a U.S. citizen child, you might qualify for that. But recently, I actually posted the persecution waiver. But then again, I would rather ask you to send me a message so we can discuss about your options on the waiver.
Because it's very individualized. So
Correct.
depends on the
Yeah.
situation. How about Nigerian nurses? Are there also are these available for Nigerian nurses? There's a question in YouTube.
Is it available for Nigerian nurses? Again, I'm not so sure if Nigeria is part of the 75 countries. Again, I
Mm,
haven't, we have to refresh that, but assuming I can validate that though. But then
mm,
again, if they are part of the 75 countries, unfortunately, they are paused. So, meaning there are no further action on their application. But if they are, I don't think they are banned.
mhm,
So, if the question is, are the things that we actually discussed, are these available to them? If they are
mhm.
eligible, yes. But if they are part of the 75 countries, it will be paused. So, even if they get approved, then we cannot go further either in the consulate or at USCIS because there are pause on their applications for now. But if they are eligible, these options are available to them also.
Yep, yep. So I have to check if they are banned. I'm trying to look for it, but I can't find it. But this one is daughter is turning 21.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you read
What
the
is that?
question?
Attorney fee to petition my 20-year-old turning 21 year. I think the question is not clear, but they're asking for the fee to petition a 20-year-old who's turning 21.
Okay, we
Yeah.
don't talk about fees here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the question is also not clear, but um if the question is about what about age out, attorney, since we don't have
Okay,
a lot of people
I got
asking
the
that.
answer though. Unfortunately, Doc, Nigeria is part of the 75 countries, right? So
Oh.
again, if you are eligible, this is what we are saying though. If you are part of the 75 countries which pause immigration, I would still recommend filing. They are not rejecting your application because you are part of the 75. It is just that after they receive your application, they are not going to make any further action because of the direction that these applications are being paused. But as we also understand that the way the government prioritizes making decisions on the applications are based also on filing date or priority dates, right?
Mhm.
So again, if you don't act now and you wait 2 years from now, let's say, then you will be on the last of the line, correct?
When
End
it
of the
opens,
line.
yeah.
So I would recommend if you are qualified, still file the application, even if it will be paused.
that
What was the
that's
question,
actually
Awendo?
That's actually a good one, attorney, because nurses are obviously qualified. So, according to attorney Nick, still have a lawyer or your agency file your petition because they're still accepting those applications. They're just not processing it. But at least you get to lock in that application date because that becomes your priority date. And you know already that it's based on priority date when they
Right.
prioritize visas. So the earlier you get that, the faster you get here. Um, how fast is the processing for premium H1B renewal?
I think we answered that question though. It
I
could
think so.
be 3 weeks to 1 month, 1 month and a half.
Yep, yep. And there's another question here. Um, F1 with ESL, is there a chance that they can work? What do you mean by
So
ESL?
again,
Like, can they not? Are they required to get English exam for F1 visas or student visas? I'm not very familiar.
right. So ESL is just English secondary language, right, for the purpose of maintaining status in the US. Do
Mm,
they have a chance to get a working permit? Well, if let's say you are a nurse, you have NCLEX, then apply for the immigrant visa. But again, unfortunately, you will not be able to get the work permit on ESL, right? So, but then
mhm.
if you can afford, maybe you can change your program to a degree course, and then after 1 year, you can apply for the work permit.
Yep. Can an F2 senior or high school graduate continue to take nursing or CNA course here? F2 is
So,
dependent on F1?
right, I actually have a recent inquiry about this. So, what happens is that ang anak niya nag-aral ng CNA, correct? But
Right.
because ang promise sa kanila na once you finish your CNA or even the associate in nursing, you can take NCLEX and then they will be offering you a job. That basically applies to people who don't need sponsorship,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you are, let's say, anak ka ng J1 or J2 and you're pursuing the CNA and you receive the associate, even if you take NCLEX, the employer still cannot file an EB3 RN for you or even on the H1 because hahanapin pa rin nila kung graduate ka ng bachelor's. Right?
Yes.
So then again, to specifically discuss your case, if you are part of that group, I would recommend consulting with an immigration lawyer for guidance.
Yeah. Well, then if the immigration is requiring bachelor's, then do the BSN route for nursing. Don't do the
Correct.
ADN. But yeah, seek consult with a lawyer. EB3, can they apply for H1B?
So if they have a pending I-140 waiting pending
Can they?
approval, yeah, whether with or
Yeah.
without pending AB3, if you qualify for H1B, then file for H1B.
Yeah. But attorney H1B is also like cap. Like I think it's only like 60,000 a year
Right, but
versus
there are
i-
employers who
i-
are cap exempt.
camp exam. But again,
Correct.
HRSA score should be high, right? So rural towns. I know nurses were
Right. But
placed
if the
in.
question is, can I apply for H1B? Yeah, if you found a cap exempt employer, or
Yeah.
your position qualifies for H1B, then go ahead for
Yes. Right.
H1B.
Yes, you can. So the answer is yes, you can. The other one is approval of free entry permit. Can that be expedited? And that's our last
Uh,
question.
I don't worry about the expediting the re-entry permit though. So the only rule on the re-entry permit is You file the application, wait for the biometrics. So biometrics normally happens within 6 weeks from filing, and if you need to go out of the country, then you can do that even if you don't, if your re-entry permit is not approved yet. So pwedeng ipadala na lang later yung approval ng re-entry, so you will be able to come back. Sagutin ko na rin ang anak na question na yan, right? So what if daw waiting pa sila or approve na yung re-entry permit but they are able to come back less than 1 year? You don't need the re-entry. You can use the green card for you to come back, right?
Mm,
So the re-entry
yes.
permit is only required if you stay outside the United States for more than a year or 1 year or more, right?
Okay.
It's less than 1 year, just use your green card. You don't need the re-entry permit.
So this is only for permanent residents, right? If they're gonna be outside
Yes,
US for more than a year, they need re-entry permit so they can come back here legally,
correct.
right?
Yes,
If I'm a citizen, can I leave the US for 10 years? It doesn't matter, right? Because you're still
yes,
a
it doesn't
citizen.
matter. Correct.
Because you're a
Doc,
citizen.
can I just take opportunity to clarify that also, right? Kasi
Yes.
sinasabi nga natin, being a US citizen, you can stay outside the United States for as long as you want, right? Without a
Mm-hmm.
problem coming back. And
Mm-hmm.
then most Filipinos confuse that, oh, that is actually a wrong statement, right? Because they are actually confusing with the Philippine requirement that, hey, if you're a foreigner, you can only stay in the Philippines for 1 year, else you will be taxed for
Mm-hmm.
foreign, the alien tax, and so on and so forth. When we actually said that the U.S. citizens can stay outside the U.S. forever, that's actually in the perspective of U.S. immigration law. But if
Yes.
your concern is you are limited to stay in the Philippines for 1 year or more, of course that is true also, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to pay tax and so on, or if you want to apply for the dual citizenship. So that statement was not intended for Philippine process compliance, but it's actually for just to
Yeah.
answer the question of whether or not a U.S. citizen can stay outside the U.S. Forever, whatever, how long we want to stay outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think this will be our last question, attorney. Currently sponsored by agency for EB3. I would like to know if marrying a US citizen would expedite my green card
Yes.
application. That's a very good question.
But yes, because if you are married to a U.S. citizen, you can file your green card anytime, and most likely 4 or 5 months later, you will have an interview and get your green card. But if you're gonna go through the EB3, then you have to wait for the retrogression to be current, yung
Yeah.
priority date.
And probably go through marriage counseling too, because if we're rushing it that way,
Right.
marriage counseling, okay. But
Yes.
anyway,
Yes.
attorney, anything to add? We've covered a lot of bases today. I'm sorry, I hope we could answer all questions, but attorney's time is valuable and I'm not paying him anything, so we're gonna cut
Yes.
this short. But attorney, any final words to our viewers? We have a lot of participants today.
Right. And again, thank you for tuning in. Correct. Right. So U.S. immigration law could be complicated, right? You don't have to solve it yourself. If you are confused or if you don't understand what's going on, I would recommend that you consult with an immigration lawyer just to be sure, right? So I know that our friends, our neighbors may their intentions may be nice and pure, but however, because of the complexity of immigration laws, especially on the employment-based side, I would really recommend consulting with a lawyer, right? Even before signing your employment contract, consult with a lawyer near you. Even the Philippine lawyers can read your contracts and assess if it's favorable to you or not. But once you are already in the United States, before signing any offer, consult with an employment lawyer, not an immigration lawyer, right? As
Mm.
far as the contracts are concerned. And then again, don't worry about this retrogression. That's beyond your control. What you can control of is influencing your employers to start the application for you. Even for those countries who are in being paused, again, file, right? That's when the government act on your case is beyond your control. So stop worrying them, and continue to dream. Right? Finally, someday you will achieve your American dream, being a nurse in the United States.
Right. And I'd like to tap on that since attorney Nick talked about continue to dream. It took me 9+ years to get here to the US. And trust me, it's very frustrating. At many points in that time I was gonna quit, but I'm happy that I pulled through and had great experience with my recruiter back then. But keep on dreaming, right? Immigration process is complicated, but that's what the experts are here for. So consult lawyers and talk to your recruiters and employers as well, right? Attorney Nick, one final thing. How can they contact you if they need to get your counsel?
Okay, and again, first, Doc, thank you for inviting me. Right, so we just want to share our knowledge about U.S. immigration. Correct. You are free to consult any immigration lawyer you want that you have confidence on. Correct. But if you would want to consult me, I am actually um, best. You can reach me better through the Facebook, either through the iDream staff Facebook account or my personal account, or you could basically call us 1917 300 3020, right? Or admin at idreamamerica.com. But then again, Doc, thank you very much for having me, right? And looking forward for the next episode we will have in the future.
Thank you very much, attorney, for your time and for all the things that we've learned from you today. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you in the future episodes. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.